जनरञ्जन यशोदनन्दन जनरञ्जन यमुनतीरा वनचारि यमुनतीरा जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपीचन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपीचन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनतीरा वनचारि जय माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे राम हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा श्रील प्रभुपादा जय ओम विष्णु परमहंस से पदव्रत श्लोक सदाशिव श्रीमती स्वयं कृष्ण श्री वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय इसका संस्थापक का श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय ओम विष्णु परमहंस से पदव्रत श्लोक सदाशिव श्रीमती वेदांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय ओम विश्वास लोको तीर्थोष्टा ईश्वर महाराज की जय ओम विश्वास सच्चिदानंद सेल भक्ति ठाकुर की जय ओम विश्वास वैष्णव सरस्वती श्री जगन्नाथ दास महाराज की जय श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ शर गोस्वामी प्रभु की नमाचार्य दास ठाकुर की प्रेम से शिक्षण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत शिव साधु गौर भक्तवृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय श्री मायापुर धाम की जय, श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय, कंक माई की जय, यमुना माई की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, ग्रंथराज भागवतम की जय, ISKCON Bhakman, Guru and the Samad Bhakti, Gauri Premanande. All glories to the Asma. All glories to the Asma. All glories to the Asma. All glories to the Guru and Shikhar and all those shape of Bhat ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamati Hare Nashtaprayeshu Patrishu Nityam Bhagavad Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhaktir Bhagavati Naishtihi. Hare Krishna, welcome to this Friday morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today we are discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 26, 10 and 11. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Patreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtihi. I'll read text number 10 first. Parityakta Guna Samyak Darshano Vishatachayata Shanti Determination, the devotee's mind becomes broader and transparent. You can see things equally. At the state of life, there is peace, and one is situated in Sachidananda Vigraha, Kaivalya, and that of Vaishnava is different. One of the things that as soon as is most the Vaishnava philosopher's conception is different. He understands both his position and the position of the Godhead. In the uncontaminated condition, the living in the eternal servitor of the Supreme, and that that is called permanent realization, the spiritual perfection of the living entity. The rapport is very easily achieved. Bible text number 11. Udasinam ivadhyaksham dravyajnana kriyatnam Hutasam imatman yovedapnoti shobhanam. Translation or teacher. Anyone who knows that this material body made of 5 gross elements, the sense organs, the working senses, and the mind is simply supervised by the fixed soul is eligible to be liberated from material bondage. Purport of Vijay. This verse describes how one can become liberated from material bondage. The first point is that one must know that the soul is different from his body. The soul is called Dehi, or one who possesses the body, and the material body is called Deha, or the embodiment of the soul. The body is changing at every moment, but the soul is fixed. The soul is called Bhutastam. The change of the body is enacted by the reactions of the 3 modes of nature. One who has understood the fixed position of the soul should not be disturbed by the incoming and outgoing interactions of the modes of material nature in the form of happiness and distress. In Bhagavad Gita also, Lord Krishna recommends that since happiness and distress come and go due to the interaction of modes of nature and the body, one should not be disturbed by such external movements. Even though one is sometimes absorbed in such external movements, he has to learn to tolerate them. The living entity should be always indifferent to the action and reaction of the external body. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that the body made of gross physical elements, earth, water, fire, air, and sky, and the subtle elements, mind, intelligence, and ego is completely different from the soul proper. One should therefore not be disturbed by the action and reaction of these 8 gross and subtle material elements. The practical process to attain this state is to execute devotional service. State engages in devotional service 24 can be different to the action and reaction of the external body. When a man is absorbed in a particular thought, he does not hear external activities, even though they are enacted in his presence. Simply, those who are fully absorbed in devotional service do not care what is going on with the external body. That status is called samadhi. One who is actually situated in samadhi Samadhi is understood to be okay. Omakyantimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshutmantamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manopishtam Stapitam Ena Bhutale Swayambhutapadamakhyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Guran Prashnapatam Sakana Raghunathatam Shivam Satvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Saitam Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Saganalamita Shri Vishakantvitamscha He Krishna Karna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Taptakanchana Gaurani Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shubhanushta Devi Padmani Vanchakalpatarudrishya Kapasantubhya Vishwapatitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Bhagavan Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vishadi Gauri Bhakta Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Guru Dev Paramatma Shri Chaitanya. Hare Krishna. So, yeah, in the first verse, before that I connect with the previous verses, sacrifice was stopped based on the advice of Lord Brahma and being placed by Lord Brahma's being pleased by Pitu Maharaj, following the instructions of Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu appeared, and Lord Vishnu is giving some instructions to Pitu Maharaj. The first verse, text number 10, the Lord says, when the heart is cleansed of all material contamination, the devotee's mind becomes broader and transparent, and he can see things accurately. So actually, we are not this. The truth is that we are not this body, but we are a spirit soul. But normally, what happens is by ourselves with the body, uh, we are not able to see the presence of soul because of our conditioning, the feelings of material nature. We have a lot of anarthas, and this particular sloka mentions that so how when we become free of material contamination, then we can see the soul and also see the presence of the Lord in the heart. The Lord is situated as part of the soul, is the guiding factor for the individual soul. So, when we become free from the anarthas like anger, greed, and then we can see the soul and we can see the super soul also. At that time, what happened as per this sloka, we can see that uh, they both are equal. The Lord, the individual soul, and the super soul cannot become equality is a quantity. The Lord is big, and the individual soul is small. So when we become free from anarthas by rendering service to the Lord, we can be situated in the transcendental platform called here as Kaivalya Brahman. We will understand something a little bit from the purpose. This is how the heart can be cleansed by devotional service to the Lord. And we also, before we hear or read Srimad Bhagavatam, Nashtaprayeshu Apatreshu the translation is that particular all that is troublesome in the heart is almost destroyed. Loving service under the personality of God is established. So, staying and studying the Lord, one can become all the anarthas that are there in the heart, and then we become situated in loving service under the Supreme Lord. Similarly, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said in his Sikshashtakam, and the very first Bhava Anantambadivartanam Padipadam Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvatma Snapadam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. The translation is glory to Shri Krishna Sankirtanam, which cleanses the heart of all the dust and extinguish the blazing fire of repeated birth. The moment is a prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. So the Chaitanya also is chanting the congregation chanting please when then we uh, get proper transcendental knowledge also, and we are situated in transcendental bliss, and we are able to taste that nectar for devotional service, which we always want. We want to be very happy in this world while we are living, and we come back to this material world, cycle of birth and death, age and disease. So, the best, which is the chanting of the Lord. And when we see Lord face to face, then we can see, realize that peace is also. Now, here in this purpose, Srila Prabhupada mentions about the quality of both the soul and super soul. The soul does not have a material body, he has got a body made of Satchit and Ananda, that is eternity, bliss, and knowledge. Similarly, the soul is also being a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Constitutionally, it is Satchit Ananda. But we are not able to see the soul, but because it is covered with his body. But the soul, as per Shastras, is also Satchidananda. That means the soul is eternal. That we can understand from the beginning of Bhagavad Gita itself. And it is full of knowledge, and it is also full of bliss. Now, when we come to knowledge, the soul is got that knowledge, uh, but it is covered due to the anarthas within us. But when we start rendering devotional service to the Lord, that covering becomes uncovered, and we can realize that the soul has got the knowledge. When respect, it does not refer to the material or shilpi knowledge that is, people talk about. Is the spiritual knowledge that can be realized by the process of hearing and chanting. And by hearing process of hearing and chanting, we become situated on transcendental loving service to the Lord. And that time we can feel that bliss from the devotional service also. And when in that when one reaches that state, and one can reach that Brahma Bhuta platform, which the Lord explains to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita 1854, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na sochati na kamshati Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu Bhat Bhaktim Labhate Param. So one who is just transcendently situated at once realizes the supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or dissatisfies. He is equally disposed towards every divinity, and in that state he attains service and me. Is that when we start rendering, then we attain that stage of bliss, and at that stage we don't lament or decide anything else, and we are equally disposed to all the living entities. That is situated in knowledge, and that is a stage of pure devotion service unto the Lord. So the Lord explains to Arjuna also. That means the real person, a Brahman or a one in knowledge, is one who sees all the living entities. It's a cow or a Brahman, or whatever it is. They are all, we say they are all the external bodies, but the soul inside these forms of life are the same. false ego needs to be purified. And when we come to the real ego, that we understand that my constitutional position is that we are eternal servants of the Lord. At that stage of life, there is peace, and one is situated equally uh, with me as Sachidananda Vigraha. This is what Lord Brahma also prays to, prays in his Brahma Samhita by point one. So there are three stages of realization that is mentioned here. It's about Kaivalya. There are three stages of realization. That is Brahman, Bhagavan. So the Mayavada conception of the Kaivalya is that there is a difference between the Mayavada understanding of Kaivalya and the Vaishnava understanding of Kaivalya. The Mayavadi thinks that material contamination is merging into the Brahma Jyoti, but actually there is no merging. Lost. So the Mayavadi, they believe that they enter Brahma Jyoti and they become one with the God. It's a wrong understanding. But what happens when they enter the Brahma Jyoti is, it is Brahma Jyoti is basically the light effulgence covering the body of the Lord. So uh, it is also one aspect of the form of the Lord. We call it impersonal Brahman. Now it is just like we see the light coming from the tube. The fact is that there is a light tube light which has got a form, but the light the tube does not have a form. So similarly, the Lord has got a form, Sachidananda Vigraha, which we are not able to realize. And then the Brahma Jyoti is the glaring effulgence of the body of the Lord. So the understanding of Mayavad is that the end result is only realization of Kaivalya. He understands his position and the position of the Lord also. He knows that in that uncontaminated condition, the living being entity is an eternal servant of the Lord, and that is what is called Brahman realization, spiritual perfection of the living entity. And this is rendering transcendental loving service to the Lord. So this is the difference between the Vaishnava also is situated by transcendental loving service in the platform. Yeah, so the loving service, which is the transcendental loving devotions. So that is one point. Then we go to the next step, text number 11, where it is mentioned that the translation says, anyone who knows that this material body made of five gross elements, the sense organs, the working senses, the mind, is simply supervised by the fixed soul, is eligible to be liberated from material bondage. So this was explained how the material body is made up of. That means there is a soul. The soul constitution is spiritual, but because an external covering, the soul is embodied in that body, and the soul is body. The body keeps changing at every moment. Every second, the body keeps changing because soul is body. Soul is fixed. Therefore, the soul is called Putastam. This change of body takes place by the reactions of the three modes of material nature. So there are three modes, as we all know: mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. In the mode of goodness, uh, one does not indulge much in sinful. One does not, in fact, one does not indulge in committing sinful activities. Whereas in the mode of passion and mode of ignorance, people indulge in a lot of fruitive activities and sinful activities like intoxication, gambling, illicit sex, and so forth. And one can realize this by if you see those who people who lived in the yesteryears years had a very long life. They used to live 100 plus, and even now, in the sense, those who have had a healthy life, they live for at least for about 70, 80 years. But as we progress further in Kali Yuga, we see that lifespan is also reducing day by day. And nowadays, we can't predict when who will leave the body at what age. Sometimes we see that people leave the body even at 20 years due to heart attack. And this is one of the major causes of diseases. What is that? The activities, the more contamination we take on the material body, the lifespan automatically is reduced. Because particularly mentions that one who understands that the soul is not the doer, but the material nature because of the activities that one performs. So the soul is watching. The soul is the owner of this body. That the body is active. So the soul is the owner of the body. The soul, the super soul, is he permits the soul through the material body to perform activities as per the desire of the uh, living being. Now we may desire that yes, I want to enjoy a lot of happiness by committing sinful activities, um, which are in the mode of ignorance. So the Lord avoids that also. And because we have a desire, the Lord avoids that also. And we can degrade ourselves into lower species of life. One may be situated in one of not be committing any sinful activity. Like we see many brahmanas, they may be reading the Vedas, they may be chanting mantras very nicely. They have a desire to go higher planets like Swargaloka, Mahaloka, Tapaloka. So many heavenly planets are there. So the Lord facilitates that also to the individual soul. And they some marasa, which is like and, not exactly an intoxication beverage, but a type of an intoxication, the moon planet. So all these facilities are available. The opposite sex, it is said, is very, very beautiful. And the living being have attraction to opposite sex in the higher planets also. And we see from the Shastra that even Indra is carried away. So the soul is just observing, but material nature is acting the senses in contact with the senses objects. In this context, there is a very nice sloka in Srimad Bhagavatam, uh, which Srila Prabhupada always quotes in his classes. And 10th canto, 84th chapter, 13th sloka. Yasyatma putti punate tridhaduke swadikalatradishu bhaumat ityadihi yattirtha buddhi shalilena karkichit yaneshu avijneshu saeva vokaraha. The translation is one who identifies his body, his self as the inner body, composed of mucus, bile, and air, and family are permanently his own, image or the land uh, of his birth as worshipable, or who sees the place of pilgrimage as merely the water there, but who never identifies himself with or feels kinship with or worships or even visits, such a person is no better than a cow or an ass. I'll explain the verse. It's a very important verse. There are generally people identify themselves as the body. And in Ayurveda, it is mentioned as made of body. I mean, Ayurveda takes the body in a different way. The modern doctors, they look at the body made of veins and blood and bones and so forth. But one who identifies as this material body, number one, who assumes his wife and family are permanently his own. By now, since we are reading part of them, we also must have an understanding. Neither our family members, or wife or family members are permanently our own. In this birth, we have wife, we have children, but at the end of this life, everyone has got an end. And the next life, somebody else may be our wife, somebody else may be our children. And our wife may go and get married to somebody else in the next life. Nowadays, the situation has deteriorated so much that even in this life itself, people go and they have no commitment to the family. So the point is from this, okay, all family members are also temporary. Then who thinks an earthen image or the land of his birth are worshipable? We all consider ourselves as Indian or American or British and so forth. And we don't this is also temporary. So maybe one in India, tomorrow you may be born in Africa. We don't know what our karma is. But the Lord is watching. Then the next point is, yeah, we worship this land as our own, but actually that is not our own. Then the next point is one who sees the place of pilgrimage as merely the water there, but identifies himself with pilgrimship, worship, or even assists those who are wise in the spiritual truth. That means many go to holy places without knowing what is the holy places meant for. So they dipped in Ganges water and they become free of all sinful reactions of sinful activities. They come back and do the same thing again. So there are people like that who go to holy places, think that there is a holy water there, but they don't identify themselves or visit those who are wise in spiritual truth. So one should go to a holy place to meet a person who knows what is the reality, what is spiritual. That we are not this body, but we are a spirit soul. And those who believe in all those above points which I mentioned, Shastra says that this person is no better than a cow or an ass. So that is all the difference is. So we must understand we are not this body. So, so there are three types of doers. One is called the performing doer, that is Prakriti. Whatever actions we perform, they are performed within the three modes of material nature, which is the performing doer. Then the responsible doer, that is called the Jiva, the spirit soul inside, and the sanctioning doer, that is Paramatma. So the point is that whatever activities we perform, they come under the performing doer, that is material modes of material nature. The responsible doer is Jiva, because the Jiva is witnessing all the activities that are being performed within the material body. And the Paramatma is the sanctioning doer. Like I mentioned, the Paramatma is a witness and he is also a permitter. If we have a desire and if our karma permits, whether pious activities or impious activities, the Lord does not intervene or interfere with the minute independence that we have. So these are the three types of layers of our activities. There is also Bhagavad Gita, it is 327, which says Prakute Kriyamanani Gune Karmani Sarvasaha Ahankara Vimudatma Kartaham Iti Manyate. The translation is the spirit soul is bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself as the doer of activities that are naturally carried out by the three modes of material nature. The point is that we all have our body is made of gross and subtle elements, and the subtle elements are mind, intelligence, and false ego. So this false ego makes us think that I am the doer of these activities. The false ego means I and mine. But the real ego is that we are all servants of the Lord. and we are meant to do. We are meant to serve through devotional service. But because of our false ego, we think that we are the doer activities, but actually that is carried out by the things of material. It depends on the type of mode one associates. He might perform pious activities. If he's in the mode of passion, he performs activities are more which are more. He wants this, he wants that. Today he wants 10 lakh, he performs activities in this material world. And those in the mode of ignorance maybe generally resort to drinking and intoxication and illicit sex and so forth, and maybe lazy and sleepy all the time. The following next sloka, Lord says, Tattvatit tu Mahabahu Guna Guneshu Tattva Iti Madhya Shakti. Translating says, one who is in knowledge of the absolute truth, O mighty arm, does not engage in the senses and sense gratification, knowing well the differences between devotion and effort. We are hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. It is not the hearing aspect of it, but when we apply it practically in our life, we should restrain ourselves from engaging in sense gratification. Uh, the Lord mentions others should not be moments. Happiness and distress are like changing seasons. So the happiness and distress that we experience is due to our association with the modes of nature. The mode of goodness, our happiness may be at a higher level, but still it is a material happiness which is always mixed with other modes. Like there is nothing like pure goodness in the material world. Pure goodness exists only in the spiritual world. So whatever happiness we may be experiencing in the material world is also short, and it is mixed with some percentage of passion and ignorance also. For example, one is situated in the mode of goodness. He thinks, I've given this charity to hospitals, I've given this charity to school, I've done a lot of good activities. What happens is the false ego again. I am the doer. I have done this, I have done that. So that also keeps him bound in this material world. So our happiness and distress is given to us uh, by modes of nature, and we should not be disturbed by these external factors. They're like changing seasons. So there is a nice quote in Bhagavad Gita which says, Matra Sparshatu Kaunteya, Sitoshna Shokataka Dukkata, Agma Paino Nityas, Ramsvarta. Translation is, O son of Puri, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress, and the happiness in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O sign of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So the point is that we experience happiness and we distress also. This material world is built of duality. So when there is happiness, there will be distress also, and it is compared to appearance and disappearance of winter and seasons. Summer comes after summer, we have rain, then we have winter. So they come and go. So a real intelligent person who is one who does not get disturbed by these factors, and they are actually felt by our senses. Our body feels that I'm feeling hot, I'm feeling cold, but the soul has nothing to do with it. Says that one has to learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. That is the real knowledge. And also, as I mentioned, uh, the knowledge itself is not enough, sufficient enough. One must try to apply this knowledge practically. That can lead us to the point of self-realization. One more point that one should learn is that there is Paramatma, who is the guiding factor, and is a witness to all this. So one understands the body as temporary, the soul as eternal, and the Paramatma is also situated in the body is one who is become liberation from this material. So the conclusion is that we will be performing such activities and really getting some happiness from this, one will learn to tolerate them. So the living entity should be always indifferent to the actions and reactions of the external body. Lord also says in Bhagavad Gita, the body of elements, there, earth, water, fire, and ether, and the subtle element, mind, intelligence, ego, are completely different from the soul proper. So one should not be disturbed by the action and reaction of these gross and subtle elements. And this can be achieved when one renders practical devotional service to the Lord. This is compared to, for example, if someone wants to have union opposite sex, if similarly, it is said that if one wants to enjoy spiritual life, you have to remove that false dress, false dress material. And one who constantly engages in devotional service 24 hours, particular thought, he does not hear or see any external activity because they are inactive in his presence. There is a very nice quote in the sixth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which says that only a rare person who has adopted complete, unalloyed devotional service to Krishna can uproot the weeds of sinful actions with no possibility that they will revive. And he can do this simply by discharging devotional service, just as sun can immediately dissipate by its rays. So we render devotional service, unalloyed and uh, rated. That type of devotional service can uproot the weeds of all the sinful reactions in such a way that they don't come up, prop up again. So, example here about sun. The sun can, when the sun is appearing, we see that the water are there, it dissipates the fog. So, similarly, when we are fully engaged in devotional service to the Lord, all the arthas that are covering this material body are cleared and the soul is situated on the right platform. So those who are absorbed in devotional service, they don't care on what is going on with the external body. And that state is called samadhi or trance. And one who is situated in a trance is called the perfect devotee, first class devotee, which is what we should be aiming at. So Prithu Maharaj, Lord Krishna Maharaj, body is the activities and one should not get carried away by the external activities conducted by one. So Prithu Maharaj is also an empowered, and Lord Vishnu is explaining that you should not be disturbed by activities of the Indra. So many documents they can send. I heard that the voice is not heard on others. I don't know what is that true. If you want to ask, you can ask me a question. I take the class as close. Thank you very much.